Hi class, for these set of problems we're going to be doing an extension of the distributive property, and let me explain what the FOIL method actually does. So for the FOIL method, you're going to have at minimum two binomials, which means two polynomials that contain two terms, and then one of the polynomials is going to multiply these two values. The second polynomial that is on the, and I'm referring to the ones on the left hand side, it's going to multiply the other two. And then after that multiplication, you have to check and see if you happen to have any like terms. So that's the main idea on these problems. Let's actually apply the distributive property and then the FOIL method. So for problem A, we're just going to multiply the 3 times those three values. So we're looking at a resulting 3v squared plus 30v minus the values of 15 for the first one. Notice that we're multiplying a monomial, meaning a one term, to inside of the parentheses. So this one is just a distributive property as we done before. Let's take a look at problem B, and we have to be careful on B because we're multiplying the actual -8y to all the terms. On the previous one, we just had a constant. So as we distribute the -8y, every one of the exponents on the y's is going to be changed. So for the first one, we're just going to end up with -8y to the third power minus 16, and this will be a y to the second, and then plus, in this case, no y's on the 5, so it'll be just a 40 and then a y, and the sign is going to be positive. And that's it for this one. Notice that the exponents on the y's increase, since technically y squared times y is y to the third, y times y is a y squared. And then the last one didn't have a y, but with the multiplication, we end up with a y. That's it for B. Let me just show again. And in this case, we just have one term multiplying those two. Let's go to problem C. And in problem C, we're going to see the first type of problem where we applied the FOIL method. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute the x to those two first. So x times x is going to give us an x squared. X times 6 would be plus a 6x. And then we're going to multiply the 4 to those two. So plus a 4x and plus a 24. Now, once we do the multiplication of x times those two terms, the 4 times those two terms, we're going to look for like terms and see if we have any to actually combine. In this case, we do have like terms in the middle ones, so we are going to end up with x squared plus a 10x and then plus the 24. That's it for this one. So the last step is to check that the resulting terms, you don't end up with like terms. Let's move on to D. And D, we have to be careful. There's a negative in there that we need to take into account. So we're going to multiply the y, then we're going to multiply the 3. And we're going to end up with y and y, it's going to give us a y squared. Y of -9y plus a 3y, and then minus a 27. And then also check for like terms. We do happen to have like terms here. And this one ends up being a y squared minus a 6y minus a 27. That's it for D. Let's move on to the next one. And let me just display the last two. What I recommend always on any multiplication is start with one term and then move to the other one, because you could have more than just two. So these could get really, really large where we may have to use additional formulas prior to multiplying them. Let's move on to E. And in E we have use. So u is going to multiply these two, and then the -5 is going to multiply those two. So we're going to end up with a u squared minus a 9u minus a 5u and plus a 45. And then we're going to combine the middle terms since they're like terms. And this is going to give us a u squared minus a 14u plus a 45. That's it for this one. And yep, I was just checking the numbers. Let's move on to F. And F, I need you to take note of F. On a later module, we're going to be talking about these, and they have special properties. Notice that you have a variable plus a number and the same variable minus the number. So these are going to actually simplified in a different form. So for this one, we end up with x squared minus 4x plus 4x minus the values of 16. And this is what I'm referring to. So on all the previous problems, when we multiplied the terms, we ended up with a middle term. They added, this one added to -14u. The previous one added to -6u. And that's because every one of the terms is slightly different. What you have here is the multiplication of conjugates. And conjugate means one term plus a constant, and then times a term minus a constant. When you multiply conjugates, your middle terms cancel out. And in this case, we're going to end up with x squared minus the values of 16. So we don't end up with x's. The x's cancel out. In this case, well, 0x is equal to 0. And we don't actually rewrite it. So that's it for these set of problems. I'll put the rest on a different video. And once again, do take note of conjugates. They're going to show up later as we keep talking about, in this case, the multiplication or going backwards, a factorization. But that's for a different topic.